Hello, my friends. Welcome to Junk Journal July 2024. Today we are going to be doing 7 prompts. It'll be prompts number 21 through 27. They include colors, timeless, tip in, ephemeral, tea-dyed, shade, and finally poetic. For this first one, the prompt is colors. One of the things I love most about collage is that I have total freedom to sink in as deeply as I want to. And I usually gather things together truly that I'm inspired by. Books inspire me, and water inspires me. Being in a pool or in the ocean or something like that always makes me feel really good. And so I cut out this image of this person swimming underwater, and she's super, super colorful. I've placed her so that it looks like she's picking up something from the stack of books. You'll notice that I'm going to cut the fish's tail, or fin, I should say, because it's going on to the other page, and I don't like to leave anything in the spine, so I'm just clipping it right there. I'm going to add some glue to it and then put it on the next page. I feel that if I leave something right in that spine area, it's going to end up getting sort of crinkled up and coming off. Now I'm adding a jellyfish so that it looks like they are reaching for that. You can see that there's a rectangle space inside of the fish, so I put the word what in there. And I did that just because this is a funny, sort of interesting collage with the books and then the person swimming in the ocean, but they're not really in the ocean, they're on top of a book page. So the fish was just like, what's happening here? So friends, that was day 21, and now I'm going to share with you day 22, which is timeless. I was thinking long and hard about this prompt, and I was just thinking about all of the things that many of us seem to enjoy that in our hearts are timeless. And I'm talking about like the things that we create. So even though vintage things that we use, for us, it's kind of timeless because we love it. So I was thinking about going in that avenue, but then I don't know why I was struck with the word love. Love is timeless. It truly is. So I am doing this collage with the theme of love. As you can see, I started with a big doily heart. I just cut part of it off so it'll fit on the page properly. And now I'm going to see if I can put these cute Mickey Mouse papers on here. And what I decided to do so that it would fit was to go ahead and cut a heart out of it and lay it inside of the other heart. I've got a circle here that I punched from some Valentine paper over Valentine's crafting season, and so I've popped that on the top of the page with this pretty die cut, and then I put a heart on the bottom of the page, and then I have 2 pink like squishy foam hearts that I've added, and now I'm simply writing the day and what the theme was, and then I'm going to show you a close-up of this finished page. We will be moving on to the prompt tip in. All right, for tip in, I had to look this up in the dictionary, and there was a couple of definitions for it, but the one that I feel would have something to do with junk journaling is it said to add something like a page in the spine of a journal or a book. And I thought that was interesting because I had never heard that before. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm not doing it the way that they described it in the dictionary, but I'm going to do it in the best way that I can in my art journal that I've already previously created and bound together. So I am gluing in, I think this is an encyclopedia page. I'm not 100% sure. I'm looking at it, but that's what I think this is. So anyway, I'm going to glue that down on my white piece of paper in my art journal. This is going to be a very, very simple collage. I've got the encyclopedia page down, and now I'm putting in a coffee-dyed book page that is written in a different language. And I just think that they look really pretty on top of one another. And then I found a really pretty die cut, a framed flower. I think this is so beautiful, and I was going to add more to it, but I really don't want to. I love it the way it is. So I simply added a little thing that says Junk Journal July, the day, and the theme. Sometimes more is better, but sometimes less is more, and that's what I think in this case. So now, my friends, we are moving on to the next one, which is day 24, and the prompt is ephemeral. All right, the word ephemeral. Well, it sounds like ephemera, but I had never heard of ephemeral. So I made sure to look that one up as well. And the definition of that is lasting for a very short time. And then the example that they gave was fashions are ephemeral. So I thought, well, I have some scraps from a fashion journal I just recently finished. Let me grab those and let me use that as my inspiration. So that's what I did. I've taken some of the pieces. These were the scrap pieces that I had. I've cut them down in size, and now I'm attaching those to the page that was already in my art journal. I have a tag with a fashionista on it, so I am adding a little bit of trim through the hole in the tag, and then I'm going to grab my hot glue gun and I will be gluing that down to this page. I love how fun and colorful this is. I'm going to write right on this tag the date, the word ephemeral, and then I'm writing the definition of that so that I will remember when I go back and I look at this. Friends, this is another very simple collage, but it has a great impact and it's full of color. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. Now we are on to day 25, and the prompt for day 25 is tea-dyed. And so I grabbed some vintage receipts and book pages, and truth be told, these are coffee dyed. And actually, the vintage receipt or bank statement might be coffee and tea mixed because I do that frequently, but the book is definitely coffee dyed. It's so much darker. It has to be. So at any rate, I've got my papers together, and this one's going to have a very different vibe than our ephemeral one on the page next door. I usually try to get my pages to sort of work together, but in this case that may or may not happen because it's just a completely different vibe. So my bank statement was a little bit shorter than the page, so you can see on the top and the bottom I just added some paper there. It was some scrap paper that I had from a project that I'm working on right now actually, and so I did that just to cover the white space, and now I am tearing the bank statement to size. I want to tell you a little bit about this ephemera that I'm working with. So this bank statement that you see, it is vintage. This check that you see on my table now, that's also vintage, and it came from the same lady that the bank statement was from. And then the check register up on the upper left-hand side, that all came with it as well. And so they all belonged to the same person, and these are like the same accounts and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of fun to work with these three pieces knowing that they sort of belong together anyway. So, all right, you saw that I tore a page from a book in half and I put that over top of the bank statement just for interest. Now I'm doing the same with the check register. I tore that and I was trying to decide which direction I wanted it in, and I'm actually going to end up gluing it on in the opposite direction than I thought I wanted it because I changed my mind at the last minute. So this is going to go down, and again, just to create a little bit of interest, I like the yellow on everything, and I think it helps it work next to the other page, although again, a very different style, but at least it has some yellow. I need to make the check fit on the page, so I tore the edges off of that. I'm putting that right across the center. it looks very industrial, if you will, so I want to add a little something to it. So I have some Tim Holtz wallpaper, and you can see I tore that. I'm going to ink up the edges with some yellow ink just to sort of pull things together, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue that down as well. And that's not going to be enough for me. I need a flower, and I was going to go sort of with a little more of an elegant flower, but then I just love the yellow in this sunflower, so I chose to add that. Now I'm just going to put my label on for the day and the prompt. I'm going to give you a close-up in just a second. I have to say it's very different from what I usually work with, but I kind of like it, and I enjoyed the exercise of using stuff that I don't usually use in this way. All right, my friends, we are moving on to day 26, and the prompt is shade. And I had to scour my coastal living magazines for inspiration on this one, but I found this beautiful page with the arch that looks into the garden, and I thought that was perfect. And then I cut out this cute dog because he was cute, and this rubber duck, and he's looking at the rubber ducky. So I just wanted to try to take like a picture that was sort of elegant and pretty, and then just add some fun and whimsy to it. So then I felt like I wanted to add some flowers to the arch. So I think these are Tim Holtz, but I'm not 100% sure. But I've glued those down. And then I was thinking about covering the words at the top, but then I thought it wasn't that important to do that. So I simply added a butterfly up there. And then to really just bring it all home, I found this guy from Alice in Wonderland, and I added him. And I love the way that this collage turned out. All right, the last one for today's video is for the 27th, and the prompt is poetic. So I knew that I had a book in my stash with poems in it. I wasn't sure where it was, so I dug around in my cabinets where I keep my books, and I found it. I also found this scrapbook paper. This is actually from a new paper pad that I recently picked up. And it's got like travel papers in it, but these are really like vintage looking, and you can see here there's a camera and there's some photos on there. And I don't know, it just spoke to me. And then I cut this page up. It was a 12 by 12. I cut it all up. It was a big page, and it had this phrase on it. And there was no way for me to get a 12 by 12 phrase onto this smaller art journal page. So what I did is I ended up cutting the whole thing apart, and I'm going to add that phrase back onto these papers. But first I'm putting the poem on. The poem is on such a beautiful sheet. It's like watercolored, and it's so pretty, and it was so tempting to lay it down the way it was. But then I didn't feel like this in the end would have the effect that ultimately I want. So I end up cutting a lot of it off, but keeping the imagery that I really, really liked. Now I'm going to cut the phrase that was on the 12 by 12 paper. I'm cutting that down so that I can fit all these words into my art journal. And these right here are much larger than the other ones, so I'm going to end up doing a loose fussy cut around these. I'm going to begin gluing these down on the page, and it's going to say, find what brings you joy and go there. I'm not completely covering the poem, but I am covering some of it. But that's just part of the layered effect of this particular page. I'm not usually into dark, super warm colors like this, but I really do like this page. I love the background. It matches the colors from the page of the poem, and then the gold of the words pops, and it all just works really nicely together. And so ultimately, I'm very happy with how this turned out as well. I hope you've enjoyed collaging along with me, my friends. Thanks for watching. See you soon.